Afternoon. Myself, Dr. D.G. Kuberkar, heading the Department of Nanoscience and Advanced Materials at Saurashtra University, Rajkot. Today, I am going to deliver a talk on the nanoscience and nanotechnology, past, present, and future in this webinar. I am thankful to Dr. Hariom Vats, the organizer of this webinar, and my student, Dr. Savan Kadba, who is taking care of organizing this webinar in a very successful manner. Coming to the nanoscience and nanotechnology, I come from the state of Gujarat, which is the westernmost part of India, from a town known as Rajkot. Rajkot is a big city in Gujarat, and our Saurashtra University is situated on the westernmost part of Rajkot. And this is Department of Nanoscience and Advanced Material at Saurashtra University, Rajkot. If we see the history of nanoscience, before 2000 years, the Greeks and Romans, they used to use sulfide nanocrystals for dyeing the hairs. Similarly, before 100 years, gold nanoparticles were used to produce different colors in the stained glass windows. In the year 1959, that is in the last century, a visionary physicist named Richard Feynman, he delivered a very important talk in the American Physical Society meeting, and he uttered a sentence, "There is a plenty of room at the bottom." This took everybody by surprise, because this sentence has a very interesting information. That is, if you can prepare material with the smallest possible particle size or the grain size, then interesting properties are lying in these materials. After few years, nanotechnology word was coined by Japanese physicist Taniguchi, and then for observing the nanomaterials of the size of 10 raised to minus 9 meters, that is 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer, is called as nanomaterials. IBM developed the first scanning tunneling microscope in 1981, for which a Nobel Prize was given to the scientist. In 1985, the discovery of C60, that is buckyball structures, again speeded up the research and development in this field. And then Eric Drexler, he wrote the first book on nanotechnology, that is Engines of Creation, because this was after the invention of atomic force microscope by Binning, Patet and Gerbe. In 1989, first time the IBM was able to write in the nano size, that is extremely small, in the nanometer thickness, their own logo of IBM using individual atoms. A very important discovery in the field of nanotechnology came in 1991, that is discovery of carbon nanotubes, that is CNTs, by S. Iijima, again a Japanese scientist. In 1999, the first nanomedicine book was written by Freitas, and then in 2000, the US government started the first National Nanotechnology Initiative, and followed by that, within 5 to 6 years, Government of India also started the nanotechnology program. Actually, these gold nanoparticles are very interesting. They give rise to different colors in the stained glass windows, which can be seen in different churches of the European cities also. This is a Lycurgus cup. You can see here the glass appears green in reflected light and it appears as red and purple in transmitted light, because the size of the particles in this glass is in the nano size, and hence the different type of colors are seen in this Lycurgus cup. This is the photograph of the visionary physicist Richard Feynman. And this is the Nobel Prize lecture. In 1965, he uttered a word sentence, "There is a plenty of room at the bottom." As I told you, this is IBM which is written, and this is a visionary physicist Iijima first time showed the carbon nanotubes. What is nano now? These are different definitions of nano. Nanoscience is the study of fundamental principles of molecules and structures with at least one dimension, roughly between 1 to 100 nanometers. So anything which is of this dimension can be coined or can be termed as nanoscience. So nanotechnology is the application of these nanostructures into useful nanoscale devices, and this is a nanotechnology. So novel properties, if you can see here that on the nanometer scale, this is 1 nanometer, this is 10 nanometer. So DNA, RNA, this DNA, RNA falls in the regime of the nano, and viruses also falls in the regime of nano. So presently all of us are suffering with the COVID virus, and therefore the viruses are in the range of the nanomaterials. Bacteria are not in the range of nanomaterials. This is a tennis ball of 10⁸ nanometers size. That is very big tennis ball which we used. So if we go from the micelles, liposomes, dendramers, then gold nanoshells, gold nanoparticles, quantum dots, all these are different features or different aspects of nanomaterials. Now, how big is nano? As I told you, that if you have a child, if you have a hand, that is your palm, if you magnify your finger, then if you see that if a freckle is about 1 millimeter wide and strand of hair is 0.1 millimeter high or wide. So therefore, you can just divide this hair into again 10,000 parts of hair and you get nano. And this is in the living organisms, RBCs, bacteria, virus. This starts from nano. Actually, then this is all the nano. Atom, sugar molecule, cell membrane, this comes in the nano regime. This is again a different type of presentation of what are different nanomaterials. And this is again the same thing I am shown here. Now, how to approach the nano dimension? That means how to synthesize the nanomaterials. This is very important because you know that there are two broad types of synthesizing nanoparticles. One is top-down method approach or top-down approach, and another is bottom-up approach. Starting with a large structure to make it smaller is top-down. You can see here, this is a big mountain, and a big mountain is chiseled out, carving is done, and you can see that these are the temples. This is a Kailash, cave number 16 in the Ellora World Heritage Site, Ellora Caves in Maharashtra. You can see the smallest part, the wood is carved, there is a carving, and you can see the size of that comes in the millimeter range. So therefore you start with the bigger one and get into extremely smaller objects. This is exactly reverse. You start with the individual atoms, that is you start with the individual sand particles, and you can build large structures, but these are nanostructures. This is a bottom-up approach, or it is also called as the chemical method. Why nanometers are important? because they possess size-dependent physico-chemical properties. That is, the properties of the material changes without changing its chemical composition. This is a very interesting aspect of the nanomaterials. Similarly, the nanomaterials, they possess extremely large surface to bulk atom ratio, which is very ideal for composites, reacting systems, drug delivery, energy storage, and so on. Similarly, we can assemble the nanoparticles. The organization in biological systems that occurs at the nanoscale, and these non-biomaterials, that is whatever we are doing in the physics and chemistry, these non-biomaterials are also assembled at the nanoscale. So assembling of nanoparticles is also equally important. So therefore, the first generation of the nanotechnology is the passive nanostructures. Second generation, active nanostructures. That is, we are talking about bioactive, health effective, targeted drugs. Third generation is the guided assemblies. And the fourth generation, which will very soon coming into reality, is the molecular nanosystems. That is, we are talking about the nano machines, nano engines, and so on. So these are different generations of nanotechnology. We are living now presently in the fourth generation of nanotechnology. Now, what is the future of nano? If we see on the time scale on the x-axis and the convergence on the y-axis, you can see that from 1980 onwards, different type of innovations took place in the field of nanomaterials and nanotechnology up to 2014-15. Now, after innovation, now we are approaching to the revolution now. So whatever we are in the era of revolution now. So nanotechnology is going to revolutionize complete mankind. It will be a very important boon to the human civilization. The applications of nano, they are very, very interesting, because first important application is molecular nanotechnology. This is the designing of molecules performing mechanical functions. Unbelievable. Different type of molecules will be synthesized and which will perform various mechanical functions, which we used to get them done using mechanical machines or mechanical components. So these are called as new type of integrated nano devices. Now this branch of science, which is concerned with the motion of molecules and atoms, which results due to the external stimuli, with the external force or external agent, these are called as molecular nanomachines. Japan and USA, they have developed these molecular nanomachines and they have been testing already. Now, development of the scanning probe microscopy have made it possible to manipulate the molecules effectively. So this, we can change the molecular positions, we can add one molecule into another by using the scanning probe microscopic technique. Now, the another applications is the nanocosmetics. This is extremely important. This is a billion-dollar industry, nanocosmetics, because the nanoparticles having the size less than 100 nanometers, they are used in the sunscreen lotions in the form of micro ionized zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, because they protect the skin from the harmful UV rays. Similarly, the nanogold particles are used in anti-wrinkle creams. Anti-wrinkle creams means if your skin is developing wrinkles, because as you grow old, the skin becomes loose and wrinkles are developed. So to avoid the wrinkles, people are using the nanogold particles. Similarly, nanosilver particles are used with antibacterial properties in the soap, shampoos and wet pipes, because silver nanoparticles are having antibacterial property. Similarly, the nanotechnology is used in the skin care, sunscreen and so on. Large number of international companies or brands, they are using nanoparticles and nanopigments for the use in their cosmetic applications. Next. What are some of the innovative applications of nano? Come to the energy sector, nanomaterials have potential applications. most important applications for the human beings is the medicine and drugs, that is targeted drug delivery. Then nanobiotechnology, this is another important applications of nanoscience and nanotechnology. Then nano devices, new type of integrated circuits, they are developed, extra small, very, very small devices are developed using the nanomaterials. Optical engineering, then defense and security, bioengineering, cosmetics, nanofabrics, and so on. Large number of variety of applications are present and will be there in future also. Now coming to the applications, as I told you, nanomedicines, nanoscience, nanoelectronics, which is a very challenging field in the future, and then most challenging is nanorobots. These nanorobots are being developed and will be tested in future for the invasive surgery in medicine. For example, if you want to repair the heart wall, or if you want to take care of some disease in some part of your body, then these nanorobots will be introduced into the body. They will play the role, they will act whatever according to the controls given, and then they will release the drugs, they will take care of the issue to be solved, and then they will be dissolved. Such type of the activity are in future applications of nano. Similarly, in the nanoelectronics, in the nano devices, these type of devices will be extremely important in the energy conversion, pollution control, food, agriculture, and so on. Now, nanotechnology will be used in the 5G communication, because here 5G will transform the smart devices into ultra smart devices and will be the basis for a hyper connected society. In India also, the 5G will be coming within 1 or 2 years. So this is going to change our communication system. Now, a very interesting but useful applications of these nanomaterials for our benefit is air purification. This comes in the name of aromatherapy. This is very important basically. Here you have a nanofilter, you have a carbon filter, and you have ultra plasma ion filters. So such type of filters are used in the air purification, and starting is the nanofilters. Now actually we can take care of toxic carbon monoxides, because such type of nanofilters, air purifiers, will break down the carbon monoxides and make it less toxic. Then it will take care of toxic nitrogen dioxide. It will take care of different type of pollutants. It will be taking care of bacteria and viruses, and then some type of allergens. These are polars, danders, dust, and so on. All these allergens can be also taken care by such type of air purifiers, which are made using the nanomembranes or nanoparticles. Now nanotechnology that will change your life, because you can see here that such type of the filters are developed. This is a base unit, this is a power filter module, and this is a top module. Such type of the filters are used, so we can clean them every 6 to 8 months, and these filters are placed here, and this is extremely durable filters. Similarly, after their filters comes another application of the nanotechnology, that is nano ink. This is a very important technological application and also as a commercial aspect. See, basically this is a inkjet printing. You can see here how much is the spread of the ink. There is a dark here, there is a blurred here, and so on. This is a inkjet printing. For example, if you have a ultraviolet inkjet, you can see this much of amount of the ink is required in the printing of a dot. This is xerography. We call it a Xerox. How the image is created in this xerography. This is 5 micron size. 5 micron size is the point size of a dot in the xerography. Whereas if you have an aqueous inkjet, then you can see here this dot, 5 micron dot looks like this, which is a spread. This is an offset printing, which is less in thickness and consumes less of a material. But if you can see the nanography, that is using the nano ink, if you can do the patterning or the writing, you can see how much the surface roughness is extremely small and the thickness is 0.5 microns. You start with 5 micron in the Xerox or xerography, and 1/10 of that will be 0.5 micron in the nanography. That means extremely less amount of material or ink is required, and very fine patterns can be developed using the nanography technique. This is the different type of the pens used in the stylus of the microscopes in the nanography. Now you can see here, this is a bottom view and this is a side view. If you observe this,
deserves a more
very interesting aspect can be seen here.
You see, as the ink penetrates the paper, much of the pigment ends up below the surface, reducing optical density and uniformity. And just as ink gets absorbed into the paper fibers, it also wicks along the paper fibers, making the edges ragged. With Landa nanographic printing, a dry ink film is applied to the paper, so there's no penetration and the edges are super sharp. Since these ultra-thin film images are literally laminated to the paper, they conform to its surface roughness, right down to the topography of individual paper fibers. This accounts for nanography's extraordinary ability to match the gloss of the paper, whether coated or uncoated. Unlike conventional inks, in which the pigment particles are many hundreds of nanometers in size, Landa nano ink pigments are merely a few tens of nanometers. These nanopigments are not only super efficient absorbers of light, but they also don't scatter it. These properties give Landa nanographic printing the broadest CMYK color gamut of any printing process. So broad, in fact, that it covers 17% more Pantone colors than offset printing.
So now we are talking about the 4D printing, and this is a fourth industrial revolution. Actually, this 4D, four-dimensional printing, uses three-dimensional printing to create live three-dimensional objects without wires and circuit. 3D printing, you must have seen, nowadays 3D printers have come in the market also. But this is a 4D printing technology. It uses 3D printers and it uses intelligent materials. These materials which are programmed to change the shape, color and size when they receive an external stimuli. For example, if you have a hydrogel resins, active polymers or even live tissues, they can be printed in 3 dimensions with a specific design that evolves over time when in contact with humidity, light and pressure. These are different type of external stimuli, pressure and temperature, and therefore we can achieve the intended finish. So therefore we can, using 4D printing, it is possible for an object, for example, a bend, repair, assemble or even disintegrate itself, and it acquires a new shape or functionality on its own by reacting with the environment. This is a new concept, completely new concept, where the nanotechnology or nanomaterials finds extremely important applications. And this is how, I will not go into the details of the 4D printing actually, This 4D printing makes use of smart materials, hydrogels, shape memory polymers, and so on. And 3D printing is the base of the 4D printing. You can see here a very interesting video showing the 4D printing. You can see how the objects are transformed. See, such a beautiful orchid were made using the 4D printing. Now this 4D printing is being used in the medical applications also. Similarly, the use of 4D printing in ultrasound scans that will be allowing to know more precisely the structural and functional development of the nervous system of the fetus inside the body. Now you can see here, in future, the stents, vascular endoprosthesis, which are stents or other 4D parts that react to body heat and expand to adapt the patient, may be able to be printed. So we can print outside such type of stents also, which will be used in the heart surgeries. Clothing and footwear, 4D printing will be used. These are 4D printed shoes, 4D printed t-shirts. Aeronautics and automotive, NASA has developed intelligent metallic fabrics now with 4D printing. Similarly, 4D printed cars now. So all the fields of life, of technology, the 4D will be having extremely important. Now coming after 4D printing application, coming to the biosensors and nanobiosensors. This is another important application of the nanomaterials. Sensors, biosensors, nanobiosensors and application. This is a broad area where I will be discussing in 3-4 slides. Actually, biosensor technology, basic sensor technology. Here, sensor is a device that in special situation react predictable reactions. It converts a physical phenomena into a signal, electrical signal. Types of sensors: chemical sensor, thermal sensors, mass sensors, airflow sensors, and so on. Now, biosensors. They can be classified into 2 categories depending upon the type of material to be analyzed, and other one is the basis of signal transductions mechanism employed. So bioreceptors, then we have got antigens, and antigens can be studied and we can study the antibodies. Now, what are different electrical interfaces? Nanowire arrays, nanoparticles, nanotubes, electrodes, and so on. So different type of transducers, that is converts one type of energy into another type of energy, or one type of signal to another type of signal. Thermal transducers, optical transducers, electrical transducers, magnetic transducers, signal processors, display devices, and so on. These are different type of transducers are there. And father of biosensor is Professor L.C. Clark. The first and the most widespreadly used commercial biosensor. He developed the blood glucose biosensor in 1962. That is what we are using for checking the diabetes. That is our glucometer. The human senses, as you know, that to convey the information, any biological or chemical sensory points are used. Either of these, ear, nose, taste, then you can have the touch or see or your eye. These are sensory inputs. 5 sensory inputs are there, and the signal is given to the brain. Now, what are the building blocks of the life? We have started with the cells, then tissues, then organs and systems. So these are different type of building blocks of the life. What is nanobiosensor? A biosensor which is used to detect, analyze the biological activity with a physico-chemical detector is known as biosensor. So different types of nanobiosensors, transducers, detectors, and biological recognition element, or we call it as nanoreceptor. Now, the working principle of a biosensor: we have an analyte which analyzes the signal, receptor which receives the signal, and then conversion of signal takes place using a transducer. You can see here, this is a beautiful sensor. This is analyte or bioreceptor on which it analyzes the signal, which is given to the receptor. This is a receptor. Receptor can be anything: proteins, antibodies, quantum dot, DNA, and so on. And then which is converted into some type of signal, which is a measurable in nature. This is a measurable signal. So transducer is this area. So these are the three parts: analyte, receptor, and a transducer. So nanobiosensors are basically sensors which are made up of nanomaterials. And interestingly, these are not specialized sensors which can detect the nanoscale events and happenings. So these are different types of biosensors developed using carbon nanotubes, quantum dots, nanorods, nanoparticles, nanowires, and so on. So the nanoparticle based sensors are acoustic wave biosensors, magnetic nanoparticle based biosensors, carbon nanotube based biosensors, and so on. This type of glucose sensors are developed, which are again nanobiosensors. The potential of nanotechnology for diabetes management is very, very important. So the management of the blood sugar in the body can be done using nanobiosensors. The first glucose sensor was developed in 1999. Now we have got latest and very compact the glucose sensors. This is how the blood glucose sensor works. Now, applications of nanobiosensors. These are different applications in the bioimaging, drug delivery and cancer therapy, optical biosensing applications, electrochemical biosensing applications. These are different aspects of the biosensor applications. Now, this is blood LEDs, which is one of a very important nanoparticles. The nanosensors for the cancer treatment are also used. Then, coming to the targeted drug delivery, we have a nanoparticle, and this nanoparticle is having a drug molecule onto it, attached with, and this is a targeted delivery. How this nanoparticle with a targeting molecule and a drug can be attached, and it can be sent to the disease site. So therefore, this type of different types of the products are there, and you can see a different type of applications of the targeted drug delivery. So these are future applications of the nanomaterials, cancer monitoring, then sensing applications, and so on. Then, as I told you, nanorobots are the future in the surgical applications. Then nanotechnology can be used to heal the wounds, repair of organs. Everywhere nanotechnology will be used in the medical science. This is bamboo-like structure of nitrogen-doped carbon nanotubes for a treatment of cancer. This already research is being done on the cancer therapy using the carbon nanotubes. This is polymer silicate nanocomposites. This is high resolution image using the transmission electron microscopy, and this is used for the different type of applications. Then, as I told you about the nanosensors, the nanotechnology in medicine, nano foods are being developed now. And these interactive foods are used by the human beings as a nutrients. Nano medical cell repair animations. If you can see here an interesting animation. This is a nanorobot. This is a nanobot. We can see these are nanorobots. You can see how they work inside the cells now. Yeah. So I thank here the organizers, and first let me thank my collaborators from the UGCDA CSR Indore, from IUC New Delhi, UGCDA CSR Mumbai, ISER Bhopal, SSPL, those who have helped my research at Saurashtra Rajkot in the field of nanomaterials and functional materials. So these are some of the activities what we have been doing from last so many years. Now presently in the Department of Nanoscience. Earlier I used to work in the Department of Physics for 25 years. And this is my functional oxide laboratory in the physics department, which is existing. These are the different instruments which are there in the physics department of Saurashtra University Rajkot. Anybody, user can contact the head department of physics and they can make use of these instruments which were purchased in variety of my projects, major research projects. This is from the Department of Science Technology FIST program. So these are the instruments in my Department of Nanoscience actually. This is a laser setup for the pulse laser deposition, is in working condition in the Department of Nanoscience, Saurashtra University Rajkot. These are different facilities in the Department of Nanoscience. This is my group.